What is up, movie buffs? Row Show Movie Reviews. In today's video, I'm going to be continuing along with my Friday the 13th series review and doing part 4, the final chapter. For those of you who haven't seen this movie, as always, I put a disclaimer on all the videos. If you haven't seen this movie, to please go watch that movie. And then if you choose to come back to the review, obviously, please feel free to do so. But I don't want to put out any spoilers for you and ruin the possible enjoyment of watching this movie. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and click that little X and go check out this movie. Okay, so getting into this review, if you were to talk to, let's just say, if we were to poll, let's say 100 Friday the 13th fans, I bet you would probably get 30 to 40 people in that group, maybe even 50 people that think that this is the best movie in the series. And you'd probably get another 30 or 40 that think part 6 is, and then you'd have some people sprinkled in there with, probably, the original or, part 3 or maybe part 7 or 2, things like that. So for me, and I may be in the minority here and I may catch a little bit of flack for this, and that's okay. Again, this is just my personal feeling and my personal view, is that I think this movie is a little bit overrated. And when I say that, I don't mean that it's, one of the worst movies in the series. I just think it's a tad bit overrated. Like if most people think it's first or at the least the second best movie in the series, I have it, in the top 5. I don't think it's the best movie in the series. I don't think it's the second best movie in the series. I think it's in the top 5. But, I may catch flack for that, and that's okay. The reasons I have it, in the top 5 and not at 1 or 2 are simply because if you look at this series and you look at all the things and all the basis and criteria of ranking a movie, enjoyability is obviously number 1. So if you enjoy this movie the most out of the series, then you're going to think it's the best. And if you go in these little subcategories and you talk about the portrayal of Jason, the look of Jason, the cast, the kills, the storyline, the atmosphere, the music, is it the best movie in the series in any of those categories? I don't know, right? Do you think Ted White is the best Jason? I don't. Maybe he's the second or third best to me personally. I like Kane Hodder and C.J. Graham's portrayal of Jason a little bit better than Ted White's version. And breaking down the John Shepard and Tom Matthews and Corey Feldman as far as, character or people to play the character of Tommy Jarvis in this series. Is Corey Feldman the best Tommy Jarvis? I don't think so. I think Tom Matthews is. Right? And looking at the look of Jason, is this the best look of Jason? No. I think I prefer parts 6 through 8 better than this one. Right? When you look at the cast of characters, are they the best in the series? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I like Crispin Glover's character. Yeah, I like, Teddy Bear. But, I mean, really, Trish is a nice character. I think Rob has his moments in this movie. But are they the best cast assembled in any Friday the 13th? I don't think so. Is the music any better than any movie in the series? No. Getting into the kills, are any of the kills, like when you think about what you may consider the top 10 or maybe the top dozen or top 13 Friday the 13th kills in the series, are there any kills in part 4 that stand out immediately in your mind as the best kills of the series? For me, no. I mean, there's a lot of kills that are pretty bland, a lot of kills that, we've already seen Jason do before. There's not any one that really stands out to me. I think, maybe, when one of the twins gets thrown out, through the window off of the house onto the car, maybe. The kill in the shower, maybe. But are any of those better than anything that happened in part 3 or anything, that happened part 2 or the original or 6 or 7 or 8. No, they're not, to me personally. So when breaking down all of these criteria, that's why I think the movie's a little bit overrated, because there's not any one thing or any one character or any one kill or anything like that in this movie that to me just sticks out as being like elite or, better than any of the other movies or different than any of the other movies. Rob, his whole storyline with his sister allegedly, I'm trying to figure out, where that comes in, how that works, what the timeline is supposed to be. His death scene is it's horrific. It's not, and when I mean horrific, I don't mean like gory or badass. I mean like cringeworthy. He's killing me. He's killing me. I mean, that has got to be one of the cheesiest kills in the entire series, personally. The whole ending with Corey Feldman shaving his head and finding a clipping of Jason and trying to look like Jason. That's cheesy. I don't think that needed to be there. I think that they could have done something different to surprise Jason or to set up the kill of Jason. And again, we've already seen that before. We saw that in part 2, right? We saw that in part 2 and getting dressed up as Jason's mother and tried to use psychology and trick him. So we had just seen that in previous basic scene in part 2. There's nothing original about that. So to me, it's a good movie. I think there are a lot of movies in this series that are worse. I'm going to be quite honest with you. This movie for me is in the top 5. But again, I can't sit there and honestly say, because I give you my honest opinion in these reviews, that this is the best movie in the series, hands down. And if you think differently, then you don't know what you're talking about, or you're not a real Friday the 13th fan, or you're an idiot, or whatever some of these fans may say. I just don't see that. Does this movie have its moments of jumpiness and scariness and stuff like that? Absolutely, it does. I mean, Ted White plays a more aggressive, over the top Jason than Richard Brooker does in part 3. Absolutely. Are there moments to that when he's running that are more, your heart's beating a little bit more and you're more on the edge of your seat? Absolutely, there are. Are there some moments in this movie like when Crispin Glover does his weird dance that are entertaining and fun, and they're things you remember from the series? Absolutely, there are. But to me, there's not any one thing or any one kill or anything in this movie to me that's either original, that's better than I would think is that way in any other movie in the series, and therefore I can't go with the consensus that most fans have that this is the best Friday the 13th movie or the second best Friday the 13th. I just can't. I can't look at the camera and look at the fans that are watching this movie and honestly say that. So that may be disappointing to some people. That may infuriate some people. Some people may think I don't know what I'm watching or what I'm talking about. But I can promise you, as a person who's watched these movies since the 80s, I can promise you that I do know my Friday the 13th. I can promise you that I have seen these movies enough that I do know what I'm watching and what I'm talking about. And my honest opinion is it's a little bit overrated. Would I turn somebody away from watching it? Absolutely not. Would I say, hey, that movie's overrated to somebody before they watch it? No, I'm not going to say that. If somebody wants to strike up a conversation after watching it, maybe we'll discuss this or maybe we'll discuss that. But I wouldn't do that. So I still think it's an enjoyable movie. I still think it's one of the top 5 movies in the series. I think that if I was to talk to somebody who hadn't seen the movie, I would definitely say, hey, I suggest you watch that one. Again, I don't dislike Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis. I think he's still better than John Shepard is. I do like Trish as the big sister, kind of figure in the movie. Like I said, Rob has his moments. Crispin Glover adds a dynamic to this movie that I think is awesome. and his kind of back and forth with, Teddy and, punching things in the old computer and stuff, I think is funny, and it has its moments, and it's quirky, and it's something that, if you're watching, is enjoyable or memorable. But for me, that's really about it. There's nothing, in my opinion, totally outstanding about this movie. To me, it's taking parts of part 2 and part 3, kind of rolling them in a ball, and then that's that, right? Like, to me, also, like the kill, Jason's kill scene, right? So, in part 2, Jason gets hit with a machete, doesn't die. In part 3, he gets hung. He gets hit with an axe, doesn't die. But he gets hit with a machete in this one, and it kills him, right? Just, it doesn't blow my skirt up if I'm going to be honest. There's a little bit of inconsistencies, and I know that they planned on 4 being the last one, and they had to find a way to kill him. But if you're going to find a way to kill Jason, you can't do things that you've already done that haven't killed him and that kill him. You see, there's certain things about this movie that I can't put my stamp on as being the best movie in the series, and I'm being honest about that. So if you're one of those people that pisses off or upsets, sorry. Okay, that's it for me. So hope you enjoyed the review. I hope I gave maybe a different perspective, or some different things that you maybe hadn't thought about, or things you hadn't put together. If you didn't like the video, thumbs down, that's fine as well. Leave a comment in the section below if you have something you want to discuss, or something that you want to say about my review or about the movie in general. Subscribe to the channel if you want. Share the video, and then be on the lookout for the rest of the reviews of the Friday the 13th series on my channel in the upcoming weeks. So until next time, movie buffs, I am out.